Good evening, my friends, and welcome to my small corner of the internet. My name is ReallyJayBee, and tonight I'm going to be doing something a little different to what I usually do. So, for anyone out there who doesn't know what Tellonym is, basically it's a site that lets you completely anonymously send questions to anyone with an account. Now, a week ago, I posted the link to my account on my Instagram and invited anyone and everyone to send absolutely any questions. And tonight, I'm going to be answering them. Every single one. So, without any further ado, let's get started. Now, first of all, somebody said, "Not gonna lie, I hate you so much." Well, I hate me too, so join the club. First actual question now. What's your favourite question? And my answer to that would be, would you like a medium or large? I'm from a small village near Southampton on the south coast of England, and everyone has mental health, but I know what you mean. I was first diagnosed with mental illness when I was about 15, 16. Having just started sixth form of college, I went through some pretty intense shit that kind of triggered a spiral from what was underlying issues becoming something a lot more complex and severe. I got involved with some pretty bad people. I did a lot of stuff that I regret. I did a lot of stuff in exchange for alcohol. Because I was underage at the time, I got manipulated into doing a lot of stuff that I didn't necessarily want to do. Looking back, abuse is the word. I don't really want to talk about it too much because it's something that I've only just begun to acknowledge and start healing from. But yeah, that basically triggered me to go from a straight A student to a college dropout within the space of about 6 months. I was first hospitalised when I was 16 following a suicide attempt, and that's when I first started therapy for depression, anxiety and anorexia. Now I'm 22 now, so that was 6 years ago, and my diagnosis has changed quite a bit since then. But yeah, that's how it started. I remember going to a wedding when I was about 7, I guess, and there was a guy there that had blue hair. And growing up in a tiny village, that was the very first time that I'd seen anyone with dyed hair, or unnaturally coloured dyed hair. And I was fascinated by it. And ever since then, I always had in the back of my mind, oh yeah, I really want to dye my hair blue one day. And it became almost like a joke in my family that I will one day dye my hair blue. So when I got to about 18, 19 and started growing my hair out, and then last year when I thought about dyeing it for the first time, it was really a no-brainer when it came to choosing the colour. And I've been a few colours since then, but blue will always be my favourite, and I think it's going to be this way for a long time now. I'll put a link at the top of the screen to the video where I kind of explain this, but long story short, I just decided to take a year out from my degree to focus on my own mental health recovery, and I'd always wanted to work in the field of mental health, but I didn't know that you could get involved without being a professional, whether that's a therapist or a psychiatrist or a doctor or a nurse or whatever. So I was kind of wanting to get involved but not knowing how to. So I did a few Google searches and found that there was a meeting going on a couple cities over from where I live. And it was terrifying, but I decided to go. And I met a few local campaigners, and it really kind of sparked something off within me. And since then, I've done a bunch of training, I've helped out at events, and I've started running my own events. And like I said, it's terrifying, but it is so rewarding. So I highly recommend it. I thank you for saying that, but it's pretty easy. It's just 3 simple steps. So the first is to moisturize every day. The second is to exercise when you can. And the third is just twice a week, just bathe in the blood of 15 virgins. And that's all there is to it, really. Not strictly, but I avoid meat whenever I can. And also, I love dairy alternatives like coconut and oat milk. Yeah. Well, having done it, I would be a massive hypocrite if I disapproved. So, as long as you're of legal age, then it's your body to do with what you like. So, yeah. Fave tattoo would be this one. I'm not sure if you can see it. I have quite a few on my left arm and my chest, but I got that one impulsively when it was a year since my last hospital admission. And every time I look down and see it, it makes me smile. So it will forever be my favourite one. Dude, I cry about everything, so of course I have. I've struggled with an addiction to self-harm since I was a teenager, but this November I'm a year clean, which is a huge achievement. Now what works for one person might not work for another, but in my mind I always categorise it that there are 2 different things that you can try. First of all, there's distractions. Now these are all about just keeping your mind and body as busy as possible while those intense emotions are raging before they start to pass. This can be anything from binging something on Netflix to going on a run, playing a musical instrument, literally anything that keeps yourself focused on one thing that isn't how you're feeling. And the second are coping strategies. So these are alternative skills that help you to express those emotions and basically deal with it in a positive way. These are a little more complicated and they do take time and practice to get right, but things like holding ice in the palm of your hand or expressing how you're feeling by writing yourself a letter, snapping a rubber band against your wrist, anything like that that helps you deal with those urges without hurting yourself. That's a really complicated question and it's something that I could talk a lot more about, but I think I'm going to do that in another video. So until then, I know what those urges feel like. And I know that in the moment it feels like self-harm is the only thing that is going to make you feel any better. But that's really not true. And whether you've been clean for 5 minutes or 5 years, that's a huge achievement and you should be really proud of yourself for that. So just take it one step at a time, keep your head up, and I believe in you. Again, this is something that I could spend the entire video talking about, because it's something that people spend years trying to learn how to manage. But I guess the most important thing to me anyway, is trying to stay grounded in the present moment. Which is easier said than done, I know, but something I like to do is go on Google and search for lists of grounding techniques. And they're often really short, snappy tips. And I save a few of these lists and practice them. And the ones that I find helpful, I save in my own list. Because then when I'm feeling triggered or having a flashback of some kind, or even having a panic attack, I've got a list of personalized tips that I've left for myself that I know that I'm going to find helpful. And there's hundreds out there, so I'm not going to go through them all now because this video would be like 5 hours long. So instead, I'm just going to share a couple that I find really helpful. So one thing I like to do is cross my arms and my legs, because it makes me feel a lot more in control of my physical body. And another thing I like to do is lay on the floor, looking like a total weirdo, but feeling the hard floor against my back is kind of calming. And lastly, if I'm feeling numb or empty, then I like to, either in my neck or in my wrist, try and feel my pulse and count the beats per minute. And yeah, well, thank you for my 3 questions. I could talk about movies and TV shows for hours because I watch probably too many, but my all-time favourite TV show has to be The US Office, because when I first watched it, I was in a period when I was really struggling with my depression, so I'd literally spend the whole day staring at the ceiling, barely moving, and the only time that I would feel anything at all really was watching this dumb sitcom about a group of co-workers, so it will forever hold a special place in my heart because of that. Other shows I like, I watch so many, but 2 more favourites I guess would be American Horror Story and X-Files, hence the X-Files tattoo. And movies are the Lord of the Rings films. They are the best. And yeah, end of discussion. But we don't talk about the Hobbit films. Well, I'm a massive gamer, so I've definitely played my fair share of games. And my favourites would have to be those in the Elder Scrolls and the Fallout series. Especially Skyrim. I remember when it came out in late 2011, I was just blown away by the sense of freedom and adventure in that game. I mean, it's beautiful even by today's standards. It has an incredible soundtrack, and let's be honest, who doesn't want to run around as a sneaky lizard assassin or badass wizard elf? Yeah, enough said. I guess it would depend on the crime. I mean, if it's something real bad, then I wouldn't want anything to do with them, so I hope they enjoy the prison food. But anything else, like I would rather maintain that friendship. I'm quite a loyal person, so I don't see myself snitching on anyone unless it was genuinely kind of something really, really terrible. But I would much prefer that we don't get caught and I don't have to answer this question. The meaning behind ReallyJayBee. So I remember when I first started my Instagram account a few years ago now, because that's where I mainly post my mental health stuff. I remember seeing accounts and they were mainly either really positive or really negative. There weren't that many people that kind of realistically portrayed kind of the ups and the downs, like the positive and the negative things that happen when you live with mental illness. And that's what I wanted to do. I was sick of kind of the, oh, yoga fixes everything mentality, and also the straight out 13 reasons why dramaticized version as well. So my family have always called me JB because it's my initials. And I started that account because I was really kind of trying to represent what it's really like realistically to live with these things. I don't remember consciously sitting there and trying to come up with a username. It just kind of came to me, I guess. But yeah, I've had it for a few years now, and I quite dig it, so I'm not planning on changing it anytime soon. But that's about it. Thank you to everyone who sent a question in. I really appreciate it. I hope this has been just as awkward for you watching as it's been for me going through these questions, trying to come up with answers pretty much on the spot. If you've liked this video and you want to see another Ask Me Anything thing, then like and comment and subscribe. But either way, I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so very much for watching, and I hope to speak to you soon. Bye.